We are coming to you live from the Shrewsbury Town Center, coverage on Shrewsbury Media Connection, and we will have services starting shortly. Right now, there are services that are going on at Shrewsbury Town Hall, and as the parade will then proceed up to Town Center, we'll have a service here that we will cover for you live. And then the parade will continue on into the cemetery, and there will be a service there that you will be able to see upon replay, and that will be either on Channel 28 or YouTube beginning at 7 o'clock this evening. So you can catch all the coverage at that time. I do see, and it is difficult to see because this is a very foggy morning. We've had a lot of rain overnight, still kind of sprinkling and misting out right now. Pretty difficult to see down the road from where we are here in front of the library. And looking down, you can't even see around the bend right where the light at the center is. So a little bit difficult to see what's coming, but we did see a police car that had on its lights flashing. That usually means that the parade is in formation and is working its way toward us. So we'll look forward to that shortly. It looks like we have a lovely program as always for you. And we should take a moment right now to thank the people that bring this to you. The Memorial Day Committee is made up of John Travers, Donald Gray, Robert Holland, Jeff Farrell, Carly Morin, Kevin Esposito, Tricia Sardinola, Frederick Russell, Michael Bellows, Arthur Dobson, Laurel Rossiter, Michelle Cronin, and Jessica Rabokas. And so we have them to thank for our celebrations here today. And of course, we're coming to you live from Shrewsbury Media Connection. And we are your connection for all things Shrewsbury, be it educational, governmental, or of public interest. And as always, we invite you to join us with any programming, either ideas or programs that you want to make of your own. We're always happy to have community involvement. We're here for you, you're here for us. So, as I said, we can kind of see that there's a little activity down there again. Rain is now starting to pick up a little bit, and the fog is hanging in there. But regardless, the people are out. There are people here in the center. As I was coming up from Town Hall, you could see that there were people lining in the streets, waiting the parade. They are here to express their appreciation, their thanks, their memorial tributes for their loved ones who have fallen or friends of loved ones who have fallen. And it's important to remember this is Memorial Day. We have Veterans Day for veterans who serve all over the world. We have Memorial Day for those who made the ultimate sacrifice, a debt to which we can only say thanks, but we can never repay. As I said, the rain is now picking up a little more in earnest, but it did look like we still had a full complement coming in the parade, scheduled to be coming. And that's always nice to see. So we look forward to things, like I said, occurring in just a few moments. And we will continue our coverage at that time when things start to proceed into Town Center. And we will have our parade formation stop, and then there will be remarks. And I should also mention that this year the parade and the memorial, it's dedicated to two past commanders of their respective posts. This service is dedicated to William Butch Rand, who was a past commander of the Stone Post, and James Dunleavy, past commander of both the Murphy and the VFW posts. We received some of this information from Ashley Gerstle, who was a veterans officer, and from Fred Russell, who again was a member of the committee and worked on bringing this all to you. And we thank them all. So we heard a siren come through. You can now see that there is a police officer who's starting to direct traffic away from the center, which is telling us that they're getting ready to shut this area off so that the parade members can proceed safely. And with that all happening, and you can certainly see the conditions out here today, we will be back shortly to begin the program ceremonies. Okay, Shrewsbury, as you can see, the parade formation is reaching town center. And we have, as you can see, the Shrewsbury Police Department and the Shrewsbury Fire Department, and we have police vehicles. We have representatives carrying the flag of the state, the flag of the country, and waving proudly and beautifully. And we have motorcycle and police cars, and coming up behind them we have fire trucks that will be in view shortly. You can kind of just start seeing their red lights. There's the color guard coming through of the police department, and behind them, as the police vehicles come through, you can see coming into the center the fire department representatives and the fire truck. And of course, the kids always love to see the vehicles with their flashing lights and everyone in their regalia, especially the motorcycles. I think the kids love the motorcycles. And you can start to hear in the distance the marching band music, which will be accompanying people as they march in the parade formation. And those lights are really helping to brighten things up on this rather foggy, slightly gloomy day. Kind of hard to tell that it's morning, but it certainly is. Well, it sounds like we have a pretty good drum riff going. That'll get everybody moving along. And as you can see, coming through is a fireboat. Any kind of emergency on Lake Quinsigamond, and they'll be there. We're getting little waves from the crowd and from the fire vehicle that is carrying that boat. It's a sleek-looking little machine. And we have John Travers, commander of the Raystone Post. He's our master of ceremonies coming through. We have Jim Kane and Hannah Kane waving to the crowd. Also, we have from the town select board, Beth Cassavant, John Samia, Michelle Conlin, and Carlos Garcia. The shores of Tripoli. And we will see lots of Boy Scouts. You see there were some representatives that just came through. You're going to see a lot of Boy Scout and Girl Scout campfire troops. Scouting is very big in Shrewsbury. We have, might be Art Dobson riding in that truck. Veteran Art Dobson. And we have, and getting waves from the crowd, waving to the crowd, we have Project New Hope. This is a project to help veterans come back and reestablish their lives here in after service. And we have two more veterans trucks coming through. I was incorrect in that truck was not Art Dobson. He's coming through in the World War II Army Jeep. It was a jaunty vehicle. and some motorcycle riders. And this is something really interesting that is just going to be coming into view. I'm going to speak about it as it starts to come into view. This truck that you see right now is actually carrying a Viking boat. It was built by Rich McGowan, and you'll get a better look at it very shortly. You can see the Viking flag there, but you'll get to see the actual boat that he has built. And he is doing something with this boat. It's called the Valhalla Run on August 24th. And you can register at Sheldon's Harley. And that's if you want to be part of the run. There it goes through. You can see it. It's pretty amazing. And he's also on that day doing something called ENDS, E-N-D-S, at SAC Park. And you can participate if you're interested. You can purchase tokens. Apparently you can get wooden tokens from Amazon, and you can come to SAC Park. They will be having a ceremony. It doesn't say what time here, but you can look online, and you can write your warrior, be it for Memorial Day, be it anyone who's served, be it somebody that's just in your life that you think is a warrior that you want to honor and has passed. And you can write their name on these tokens. You can put them into the boat, and they will be lighting the boat on fire like a Valhalla ceremony. And that's a pretty amazing thing. We have motorcycles, as you can see, that are behind the Valhalla boat there. Things have kind of stopped at the moment. We're just waiting as some of the paraders are coming up. The troops are coming up. You can see to the side of this, they're marching, as you can see, parallel along with the motorcycle riders there that are right here in front of where we're doing the ceremonies, the spoken ceremonies at Town Library and Town Center here. So you can see those troops I was speaking of as they all come through. And as the troopers come through the center, I can tell you that we'll have a welcome by John Travers, the commander and master of ceremonies. Gettysburg Address by Sabrina Welch of the Shrewsbury High School Speech and Debate Team. The 2024 Memorial Address by John Griffin, our guest speaker. And we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance by Joseph Wasuri and William Rosacci of Boy Scouts of America, PAC 158. A wreath ceremony and salute by, as I had mentioned her before, Ashley Gerstle. And when you hear taps, that will be performed by Shrewsbury High School trumpeters Aidan Kunsch and Matthew Gomes. The music you hear right now is by the Shrewsbury Oak Middle School 7th, 8th, and 8th grade band. And they sound pretty darn good this morning. The caissons go rolling along. Well, let's listen.
Versace. I'm Italian. I understand. Great Versace. If you say what I mean, it's just really hard.
You can see right now in that open air car, we have representatives of Miss Worcester County, which is Kayla Griffin, Miss Blackstone Valley, Bailey Tatro, Miss Worcester County Teen, Layla Hosnander, and
welcome
Miss
to our
Blackstone Valley
2024 Memorial Day celebration. I'm John Travers, the Master of Ceremony, and joining me today is our local dignitaries, State Representative Hannah Kane, from our Select Board, Chairman John Samia, Beth Cassavant, Michelle Conlon, Carlos Garcia, and James Kane, Town Moderator, our Fire Deputy Chief, Seth Colby, and Police Chief, Kevin Anderson. Today is clearly a special day. That day we gather once a year and remember the lives that were lost, the men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice on our behalf and our freedoms and our way of life. I think it was kind of interesting. We made kind of a weather decision this morning on would the band join us, because in another week in June, it's the 80th anniversary of the invasion of Normandy on D-Day, when Eisenhower made that tough decision. And on that day, we lost 2,500 American lives, 400,000 during the Second World War. It's appropriate that our guest speaker today is one from our War of Terror, our most recent war that went on for almost 2 decades, that cost us 7,000 American lives, but also 53,000 wounded. So I appreciate you joining us today as we honor those men and women who gave their lives for us and our freedom. To start today, we will start off with the Gettysburg Address. The Gettysburg Address given by Lincoln 4.5 months after the Battle at Gettysburg, which was the most costliest battle throughout that war. A war that cost 600,000 American lives, one in which he not only commemorated a new national cemetery, but urged the country on to end the bloodiest war that we've ever had. So leading us in the Gettysburg Address today is Sabrina Welch from Shrewsbury High School Speech and Debate Team.
Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of it as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, and we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember that we say here, but they can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they have, thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we were highly resolved that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall never perish from the earth.
Thank you, Sabrina. It's now my honor to introduce today's guest speaker. John Griffin retired after 30 years of service to the Marine Corps. He's a native of Quincy, Massachusetts. He and his family moved to Shrewsbury in 2013 after obviously many moves throughout the world as part of the service. He's been happily married to his wife and his best friend, Jean, for 26 years, and is the proud father to Jack and Abby. John enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1987 and was commissioned an officer in 1996. He served as an infantry officer, a reconnaissance officer, and time in special operations. He's been to 26 countries for deployments, training, humanitarian operations, partner and allied work. His combat experience includes Mogadishu, Somalia in 1993. He was a company commander in the Battle of Fallujah in November 2004. Additionally, he's a Bronze Star Award recipient from his deployment to Helmand Province in Afghanistan in 2010. John is a graduate of Boston College High School. He attended UMass for his undergraduate degree. He has 3 master's degrees, including one from Harvard, and he just completed his doctorate at Northeastern University, where he focused on developing artificial intelligence, literacy education for senior organizational leaders. He currently works for the Defense Innovation Unit in the Department of Defense, where he heads the Boston office. Please give a round of applause for our guest speaker, John Griffin.
All right, thanks, John. First of all, I want to say I'm grateful to you, to who you are and your service to this town and this world. Right, you embolize, a life of service, right, to the community. It's all about the betterment of others, right? You really set a high example, so I'm deeply appreciative to you. I think the only thing you missed on that was I got an A+ in creative writing in college. And man, I keep hearing that bio, and it just reminds me of how old I'm actually getting. So for those of you who are waiting on the barbecue, the last time I rehearsed this, it was about 13 minutes. So if you want to set your watch, you'll know when to start paying attention again. But in all seriousness, I am truly honored and humbled to be here today. I think the word honor gets bandied about way too often. But I genuinely hope to honor the fallen and their families with my words. Although I know I'll likely prove inadequate for some. And I apologize up front for that with all my heart. Despite our nation's imperfections, there's so much I love about this country. Since enlisting in the Marine Corps in 1987, one thing has remained constant, and that's America's unwavering love and commitment to her military. Regardless of your opinions of our wars, you've always expressed political dissent without disrespecting or making us feel unloved for serving. I regret that some of the Vietnam and Korean vets didn't have the same experience when they first returned, but I hope they feel honored today. And if you are here today, I deeply honor you. But I think it's important to note that today is not about those of us who served in uniform. That's Veterans Day. Today is about those who died wearing the uniform. Sometimes you'll see on social media or in person people lashing out when someone says Happy Memorial Day or thank you for your service, because that's largely what Veterans Day is about. You must understand that for some, right, saying Happy Memorial Day is like saying to them, have a happy day remembering your dead buddies, right? I apologize for being so direct, but it's important to understand that for some, this is a deeply personal and painful day. The research shows that losing a buddy in combat is a lifelong pain, similar to the pain of losing a family member after 6 months. But that pain level endures for the rest of your life. For some, the pain is compounded by survivor's remorse, also known as PTSD with the added layer of guilt, right? Thanks. It's just an unending belief that we weren't good enough, that only the best were killed, or that we didn't do everything we could to save them. The depth of this guilt is especially intensified for those of us who led forces in combat and lost them. For me, that number is 21. 21 American citizens that I know who were personally killed in combat. My best friend, my good friends, colleagues, classmates, Marines, sailors, soldiers that I've led. It's a brutal number, but it's not uncommon. Yet despite all this, our feelings don't begin to compare to what the families of the fallen are experiencing today, and quite frankly, every day. Now, I don't want to dissuade you from thanking veterans and acknowledging families today. I know it's all well-intentioned and it's important, but it's important to distinguish the significance of this day from others. So soon I'll suggest 3 ways that maybe we can honor the family and fallen in unique ways. Okay, so I'm a Boston guy, so that was a wicked solemn start. But I also want to add that while I can't speak for the families and all the fallen, I do want to tell you that my buddies, my friends, they would tell you that it's perfectly okay to go out and celebrate. Well, not just okay. I think my buddies would tell you, like, go rage, right? Go have an awesome time. Like, have parades, go to the beach, go to the Cape, have a barbecue, wear the most gaudy red, white, and blue stuff you own. And especially dads, I'm talking to you, like, wear the stuff that embarrasses your daughters, because that's our job, right? I think my friends would want you to be proud to be an American, enjoy the freedoms that they died protecting. But maybe, just maybe, at some point, during today or this weekend or the days that follow, remember a service member by name, right? Read their citation, read their obituary, right? Maybe just spend 10 minutes, thinking about their life of service. If you knew them, share stories about them, right? And it's okay to laugh and cry the same tears, right? It's perfectly okay. If you don't know any, look at my best friend, Ray Mendoza, Big Ray. We're godparents to each other's children. Like many of us, Big Ray didn't come from a stable or privileged background. He attended inner city public schools, yet he was selected for a PG year at Blair Academy in New Jersey. There he earned a full athletic scholarship to wrestle at the Ohio University. He would remind me it's important to say the. He was a Big Ten wrestler, right? It's the best in the nation. He was then commissioned in the Marine Corps. And unbeknownst to anybody else, he was still training to achieve his dream to wrestle in the Olympics. And in 1996, he was selected as an alternate for heavyweight Greco-Roman. And of course, in his own humble way, he shows up to work on Monday morning, and he's like, "Hey, sir, do you mind if I get like 6 months of temporary duty? Because I just qualified for the Olympics this weekend." So that's merely one of the many examples that highlight who he was and who I remember him to be. You hear stories from the other guys that wrestled with him that year. They would tell you that the other alternates were still hyper-focused on themselves, right, in case they got their chance. But not Big Ray. No. He told everyone across all weight classes, whether freestyle or Greco-Roman, hey, if you need to roll, right, if you want to practice your techniques on an upcoming appointment, anytime you want to throw, just let me know. I'll be there. And that's just who he was. In 2005, while leading his company in a combat operation near the Syrian border, he was struck and killed by an IED. The song in his tribute video is still played on the radio today. I think that's a sign. When I hear it, I'm often inspired by it because it brings back great memories and inspires me to be better. But as Memorial Day and the day of his death get closer, my wife and I are like, nope, can't listen to that one right now. It's a lifelong pain. Another close friend of mine was Doug Zembeck. Doug was a warrior in the classic sense of the word. It's not mine to say, but others have said the Battle of Fallujah will go down as one of the keynote battles in our nation's history. It required vicious house-to-house, room-to-room fighting, the ultimate in human competition, where two men go into a room and only one comes out. In that environment during the battle, Doug earned the nickname the Lion of Fallujah. That's pretty remarkable. 3 years later, back in Iraq, Doug was killed while leading a special operations task force full of U.S. and Iraqi soldiers. The last time I saw them both was in Iraq in 2004. Their unit was leaving Iraq, mine was just arriving, and we spent a few hours together that night. I think about that night often with great joy and sadness, and I still wonder to this day, why am I honored to befriend and serve along men like these? Like, who am I? I'm nobody. But I'm forever grateful that they lived. 2005 and 2007 is not history. It's real, and it's today. So maybe for a moment, look up and learn about my friends Ray and Doug. Say thanks. They'll toast you back. Of that, I'm sure. Maybe today another way to honor the fallen is consider reaching out to the families. While it's emotional for us, it's unimaginable for them. It's a day of remembrance of the sacrifices of these families, too. They raised children with the values of service, selflessness, and being committed to something greater than themselves. And for imbuing them with these high ideals, it literally cost them their children's life. So maybe we find time to say, hey, we're thinking about you today. You're a child. Your family sacrifice is not lost on us. We're grateful to you. So tell me more about your son or daughter. Well, maybe there's another way to honor the fallen today. The reality is, among us who served, we didn't agree on everything. Big Ray, he was a Yankees fan, you know, but I still forgive you, buddy. Despite our differences in demographics, no one, and I mean no one, went to war for a domestic political platform. They went to war because they believed in what America stands for. There was a time when American values stood for things like life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. It stood for individual rights and democracy, the rule of law, the separation of powers. It stood for equality and justice. We used to be inspired by quotes such as, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country. Or, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of our creed, that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Or in the face of impossible odds, only people who love their country can change it. Our nation's in such a dark and bleak space right now, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find consensus on anything. The last time we were this divided socially and politically, we went to war against ourselves. a far less inspiring quote is those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. In the Marine Corps, we teach that being a warrior is being a defender of the weak. We go to war to defend others, even for those who hate us, because we believe in being warriors. We believe we're defending those who are vulnerable, and we're upholding American values and ideals. As ugly as war may be, someone has to do it, and we believe we're going to war to do good. So why not me? Here I am. Send me. The Greeks have 6 different words for love, and I find that helpful. We only have one. Right? For us, whether we're posting on Instagram, right? Or like, I love cheeseburgers, right? Or I love you, Grandma, right? We all use the same word. But the highest form of love is defined by the Greeks as agape. And agape is a self-sacrificing form of love. Right? To give or earn that love is something I can't describe, but it might be the most powerful force for good I've ever experienced. To love someone or something, a value, an ideal that you would die for, that's agape love. That's not soft. That's a warrior level of love. And I truly believe still that America has a love like no other. I believe we retain an infinite capacity for good, both in resources and who we are as a people. So maybe then, if we want to honor our fallen, maybe we as a nation, we begin to heal. Maybe we try to find ways to come together as Americans once again and love what being an American was actually meant to be. Maybe we find ways to put aside our differences and come together for a greater good, not blindly and vehemently commit to a divisive political platform. And we start the healing process. And maybe we start today, right here, right now, in Shrewsbury. Maybe Shrewsbury becomes the epicenter of this healing movement, right? This butterfly effect of a national communal agape form of love for one another, because we're Americans first, and the world needs that to mean something. So maybe that's how we honor our fallen, to actually be the people they believe they were protecting when they were killed. Okay, if you're still listening, thanks for your patience enduring the musings of an old man. I struggle because I don't know that I'm handing over a better world to my children than the one that was gifted to me. You know, I want to be clear, this is not a reflection of like false nostalgia, claiming it was better in the past, like not at all. This is a call to heal now and make the future more hopeful. I don't blame younger generations for our challenges today. In fact, just the opposite. I blame mine, especially my demographic. And now I'm asking for your help. When I look at my children and their friends, it gives me hope. And when I look at millennials and Gen Z, I see generations of citizens that are way more empathetic. They're way more open-minded. They're way more collaborative and entrepreneurial. And you give me hope. And I see you too, Shrewsbury, taking the time on the kickoff weekend of the summer, taking a moment to remember and pay our respect to the fallen and the families. And you give me hope. Because maybe one day, we'll indeed return to be that shining city on the hill where we can proudly boast, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Maybe one day we can be that nation again. May God bless America. Thank you, Shrewsbury. I love you. All right, man, you're up.
Get the band first. So thank you, John. You certainly deserve that A+ in creative writing. But at the same time, thank you for sharing your personal stories and your personal losses on this special day with us. We will now hear a selection by the Oak Middle School 8th grade band. Thank you. That was amazing. We will now be led by Scouts from Cutback 158, William Rosacci and Joseph Wazuri, in the Pledge of Allegiance. So Scouts, please present arms.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now have the wreath laying by Veterans Representative Ashley Gerstel and taps played by Aiden Kunsch and Matthew Gomes. So again, Scouts, please bring your units to present arms. Present arms. Ready? 2. Thank you. We'll now be moving to our cemetery location. If you give us a minute or two so we can get our veterans back inside their vehicles, and then we'll commence with the rest of the parade. Thank you.
And as you just heard, that concludes our town center portion of the ceremony today. Things are now packing up, moving toward Mountain View Cemetery, where there will be another service. And as I had mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we will have a complete reviewing of Town Center and Mountain View Cemetery ceremonies on Channel 28 and YouTube, and that begins at 7 o'clock this evening. We thank you for joining us as always. We are so proud and so glad to be able to bring these ceremonies to you every year. And we heard a really insightful, heartfelt, thoughtful, at times wry collection of memories from our speaker today. We had wonderful selections from our Oak Street Band. We had lots of participation from people in town who came out even on this gloomy day. And so another wonderful day of remembrance here in Shrewsbury. Everybody stay well, stay safe, and we will see you next year.
Check 1, 2.
And halt right there.
Oh, yes. Our master of ceremony.
Mr. Travers.
Mr. Travers.
This is the gentleman over there with the envelope hat. See, he's waving people right now. Oh, yeah. He'll come over and let you know when it's time. Oh, thank you. No, this is my younger boy. So Desmond should be. That's the girl.
Which one? Imagine having someone and then having them. That would be insane in my I had your Mario has much more number and so yeah, it is.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming? Whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you so much. Your beautiful voices always add so much to today's ceremony. So at the end of the Civil War, the commander of the Grand Army of the Republic, which was a veterans organization, General Logan, started Order Number 11, making this a National Day of Remembrance for Civil War dead. So we're honored to have Nitin Prabhuram, who'll be reading General Logan's order.
The 30th day of May, 1868, is designated for the purpose of strewing with flowers or otherwise decorating the graves of comrades who died in defense of their country during the late rebellion, and whose bodies now lie in almost every city, village, and hamlet churchyard in the land. In this observance, no formal ceremony is prescribed, but posts and comrades will in their own way arrange such fitting services and testimonials of respect as circumstances may permit. We are organized, comrades, as our regulations tell us, for the purpose, among other things, of preserving and strengthening those kind and fraternal feelings which have bound together the soldiers, sailors, and marines who united to suppress the late rebellion. What can aid more to assure this result than by cherishing tenderly the memory of our heroic dead, who made their breasts a barricade between our country and its foe? Their soldier lives where the reveille of freedom to erase and change, and their death a tattoo of rebellious tyranny in arms. We should guard their graves with sacred vigilance. All that the consecrated wealth and taste of the nation can add to their adornment and security is but a fitting tribute to the memory of her slain defenders. Let no wanton foot tread rudely on such hallowed grounds. Let pleasant paths invite the coming and going of reverent visitors and found mourners. Let no vandalism of avarice or neglect, no ravages of time testify to the present or to the coming generations that we have forgotten, as a people, the cost of free and undivided republic. If other eyes grow dull, and other hands slack, and other hearts cold in the solemn trust, ours shall keep it well as long in light and warmth of life remain in us. Let us then, at the time appointed, gather around their sacred remains and garland the passionless mounds above them with choicest flowers of springtime. Let us raise above them the dear old flag and save from dishonor. Let us in this solemn presence renew our pledges to aid and assist those whom they have left among us to sacred charges upon the nation's gratitude, the soldier, sailor, widow, and orphan. It is the purpose of the Commander-in-Chief to inaugurate this observance with the hope it will be kept up from year to year, while the survival of the war remains to honor the memory of his departed comrades. He earnestly desires the public press to call attention to this order and lend its friendly aid in bringing it to the notice of comrades in all part of the country in time for simultaneous compliance therewith. Department commanders will use every effort to make this order effective.
Thank you, Nitin, on those powerful words going back to the origin of this day on honoring our fallen. We will now have a wreath ceremony and salute by Victor Cronta, Post 397, with Fred Russell, with taps played by the Shrewsbury High School band members Aiden Kunch and Matthew Gomes. Set. Arms. We will now be led in a benediction by Monsignor Michael Rose from St. Mary's Parish.
Let us pray. Lord God, we gather on this Memorial Day, grateful for the gift of memory, as in different ways we call to mind the lives of so many people who have done so much good in our world and in our lives. We give you thanks for the blessing of the veterans who lay to rest here, for other family members, neighbors, friends who lie in this cemetery and others. As we spend time this day in remembrance, help us to look forward to our future as a nation with your blessing and your hope. As the rains water the earth, may they be a sign of the gift of your loving peace and hope that you give us each day, that acknowledging the scars and sins of our past, we may be led to a new future where we truly are light for one another and for the whole world. Help us to achieve greater gifts of unity and a renewed purpose in our land and in our world. Pour forth your blessings, O Lord, this God, we pray this day. Amen.
Thank you, Father. We will now have the reading of our veterans' names for the town memorial squares by members of our scout units as we honor our own local fallen.
Lieutenant William M. O'Donnell, World War II. Lieutenant Colonel Walter J. Patton, World War II.
Staff Sergeant Victor R. Quaranta, World War II. Private First Class Harold J. Salvatore, World War II.
Tech Sergeant Joseph T. McGarry, World War II. Staff Sergeant Charles J. Murphy, Vietnam.
Captain Isaac Harrington, Revolutionary War. PFC Brian M. Moquin, Jr., Afghanistan.
Staff Sergeant Walter F. Johnson, World War II.
Sergeant Melvin Kaiser, World War II.
Captain Winthrop Avery, World War I. Julius T. Benedict, World War II.
James E. Conlon, World War I.
Private Joseph W. Hickey, World War I. Sergeant Lloyd E. Hill, Korea. Private First Class Carl A. Johnson, World War II.
Corporal Alan E. Duke, World War I. PFC Richard D. Phippen, World War II.
Sergeant Carl Firebeck, World War II. Herbert B. Hapgood, World War I.
Private First Class Robert J. McGuire, World War II. Robert E. Marston, World War I.
Sergeant Bernard F. Krenick, World War II.
Francis S. McGuire, World War I.
Private James Schuler, World War I. Private First Class James F. Sheehan, World War II. Private First Class Homer E. Vassar, World War II. Staff Sergeant Edward F. Wiskoski, World War II. Byron E. Stone, World War I. Sergeant Raymond Stone, World War I.
Thank you for that, Scouts. I think, as John said in his speech, just to take a couple moments out of our day on Memorial Day and say the names of our local departed and honor their presence is so important. We will now have a selection by the Shrewsbury High School Band, so if you turn to my back left. Thank you so much. You sounded wonderful. So, in conclusion, I hope you enjoy the rest of our weekend. But as has been said, let's not forget the price that is paid for our freedom. There's an expression, when you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow, we gave our today. So we honor all of those fallen heroes that gave their today for us and our tomorrow. Thank you for celebrating this special day with us. Special thanks to our Parks and Recreation crew, Laurel, Kevin, Carly, Michelle, Rebecca. Thank you so much for our scout leaders coming out with their units, our music liaisons, Tom O'Toole, Karen Wardwell, all of our participants, our fire and police color guard. Thank you for making today such a solemn day. Just as a reminder, there'll be a barbecue for our veterans back at Raystone Post by Dean Park. Again, thank you so much for joining us in this special day and honoring our fallen. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.